This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome to a Monday edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carinante. We can't quite call it a victory podcast, but winning 2 out of 3 against the Boston Red Sox. Last time I checked to open the season, it's a series win. 2 wins, better than 1 loss. Last night's loss was annoying, but it wasn't particularly devastating. If it was devastating to you, you might want to examine what a 162-game season feels like, try to relearn that. Would it have been nice if the Yankees had come through a few more times with runners in scoring position? Yeah, they could have won 7-4 or 8-4. Did they win the first 2 games of the series and make a statement to start the year? Absolutely, yes. And that means we're going to be doing early season overreactions, first impressions. Who do we love? Who do we hate? Who do we know everything we need to know about after just 3 games? Again, the Yankees won 2 of them. That's a .667 winning percentage. Only one team is currently perfect, and that's the Tampa Bay Rays, and they played the Baltimore Orioles in the opening series at home in case they needed that extra level of advantage. So can't do much better than 2-1. Only one team did, and again, it was the team that faced the Orioles. Make sure to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Drop us a 5-star review along with a mailbag queue. We will be more than happy to answer it. Thomas Carinante, first of all, happy birthday. Second of all, welcome to the podcast. You were in the stands for Sunday night's loss. How did that feel? Because the other games were better.
Yeah, a good old birthday present gone wrong. No, it was a great time. Buddy got me tickets. We sat in left field, and they were just chanting "fuck Verdugo" the entire time. It was pretty funny. He just kept nodding at the crowd, putting his glove up. Funny guy he is. But the energy.
I'm only gonna say this one time at the top of the podcast and never again. Red Sox fans like to chirp the Yankees about Aroldis Chapman, who we hate, who we don't like. He's on the roster and we hate him. Alex Verdugo, you love. Red Sox fans, you love Alex Verdugo. Incredibly accused of sitting in a room while a woman was raped by Dodgers prospects. I don't know.
Not great.
It's easily Googleable. So moving along.
Dodgers buried that. Dodgers are kind of scummy. I think that's another theme here because they covered up the Puig stuff, among other things. So no thank you to all of that. Energy at the stadium was great. Got a new hat. It was 20% off if you paid with a MasterCard. Pretty cool. But yeah, people were rowdy. It was great. It was like just the perfect level of rowdy you would want. And it was a classic. I got to see a classic Yankees loss, a classic 2021 loss where you get a million fucking base runners and you don't cash in on any of the opportunities. And like the 1 or 2 opportunities that do cash in, the stadium erupts and you're just begging for one more. You just give me one more hit, one more, put one over the fence. Like this place, the lid is about to blow off this place. Never came through. Very disappointing bottom of the 9th. But look, those first 2 comebacks that we saw on Friday and Saturday didn't happen that early in the season last year. Probably didn't start happening until July or August. You didn't see that kind of resiliency from the Yankees until mid to late in the season last year. So that was my biggest positive of the entire series. The Red Sox had to literally pour out every last bit of energy and sweat that they had to pull out a 4-3 victory to avoid a sweep. So I view that as a moral victory. Funny Red Sox fans talking shit after the win. It's just funny how this world operates. I don't understand anything or anybody anymore.
They really were too. They really were talking shit after the win. And like, I'm just imagining the world where Yankee fans talk shit after winning 1 game in a 3-game series against the Red Sox by 1, hanging on by the skin of your teeth. Jake Diekman is your closer. And then after that, peacocking like, statement made. No, the statement that was made was that you're not as good as the New York Yankees at this point. You're decent, but you're not as good as the Yankees.
No, and the Yankees top to bottom, we saw the positives. We saw that Anthony Rizzo is probably going to be more impactful than most people really anticipated. I was one of the people on the Yankees for not signing Freddie Freeman or trading for Matt Olson. I did like Anthony Rizzo as the plan C, but I thought another impact move needed to be made before that Josh Donaldson trade. And Rizzo, I think a full season of Rizzo, people kind of swept it under the rug. They weren't really thinking like, oh, this guy is the 135 OPS plus for his career or something. It's like something up there where it's like he's had really good seasons for the majority of his career outside of like the shortened 2020. And that was like it. And we downplayed his potential impact, I think. Obviously, it's an overreaction to think that this production is going to come as frequently as we're going to probably be accustomed to, but you can't ask for a better start. You can't ask for a better spark plug, especially when Aaron Judge really didn't do much this series. He had a couple of hits, but like none of them were meaningful. You look down the rest of the lineup, Joey Gallo, not great. But I think that was kind of to be expected. No one was really sitting here thinking that he was going to wake up out of whatever had happened to him last year. And during the second half with us, Aaron Hicks, also not great, but what are you going to do? He's coming off those injuries. He still hasn't had consistent playing time. It's going to take time, to the point where Yankees fans convinced themselves that now they want Brett Gardner back because Aaron Hicks had 8 at-bats that they didn't entirely approve of, which I agree with. They were really bad at-bats, but if you were just complaining the entire offseason about how you don't want Brett Gardner back because it would not be a winning move. It would not be indicative of taking the next level or taking it to the next level and actually leveling up against your opponents. A lot of Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, not a great weekend debut, shaky defense, essentially no offense. He had 1 hit. So it was great. And I mean, we'll talk about Giancarlo Stanton later, the biggest positive of the team, probably still mashing against the Red Sox. But I think Rizzo is a good talking point. Great defense at first base, which is what this team has been wanting based on them getting rid of Luke Voit. That was one of the main driving points to get that deal done. And his leadership. Ron Marinaccio kind of off the ledge after he walked the first batter in his debut. So overall, Anthony Rizzo, I think, and we think, is going to be a very, very positive signing for this team for this entire season. And I think he's going to play himself into another contract. He's going to opt out after the year.
Yeah, I don't even have a lot of negatives to address. And I think I think maybe entering 2021, coming off 2020, I would be a little bit more furious because I felt like we were robbed of a season. We were supposed to have Garrett Cole for 162. We had him for 10 starts, and then we played these empty stadium playoffs, and everybody was like, 2021 will be different, full season Cole, etc. And then they show up and just look completely flat.
Yeah.
So game 3 was the norm. Like, I don't even think game 3 of this series, where they blew some opportunities, was the norm necessarily from last year. Because if Aaron Hicks doesn't grind into that double play, if Aaron Hicks doesn't turn a 3-0 count into 3-1 and pop out with runs on second and third, 1 out, if he singles or hits a sac fly in either of those situations, the Yankees win the game. Doesn't even have to be both. Like, the difference in that game was razor thin. It wasn't like the Yankees lost 2-0 to the Rays and left 13 men on base and went 0 for 12 with the runners in scoring position. They were 3 for 11, and Hicks failed twice. So it's really like they were an Aaron Hicks single away from winning all 3 games. And this was 3 games, 3 comebacks. Down 3-0 in the first with no outs. They tie and win the game. Tie the game twice, 3 times because of the ghost runner.
3 times.
Saturday, down 2-0 in the blink of an eye. It's totally okay. Luis Severino looks great. It gives up a home run to Alex Verdugo. They don't give up any more runs. Tie the game on a Rizzo bomb. Take the lead on a Stanton bomb. Win the game. Sunday night, they're down 2-0 in the first. Jordan Montgomery gets a ball lined off his leg. More disaster. Montgomery stays in. Doesn't allow another run. The Yankees go down 3-1 on some dinky garbage. And then, runner reaching base on a strikeout swinging, which is the worst rule in baseball. And they tie that game right up because Anthony Rizzo again. So the Yankees punch back 3 times in 3 games, lose Sunday by a razor's edge against the Red Sox, a team that has, again, owned them in recent years. No, not 2020 when the Red Sox intentionally tanked to get a top 5 pick and got it. Weirdly, not 2019, which is pretty cool. But last year, the Red Sox made a lot of annoying statements against the Yankees. 2018, the Red Sox obviously ran train on the whole league. 2017, every year the season series ends up roughly even, but some of the losses the Red Sox have dealt the Yankees have just been horrifically painful in recent years, especially last year when they reeled off just a monster start to the season, something like 7-0, 10-1, or something like that. It was awful. So they come back 3 times in 3 days and lose the last one by the contributions of Aaron Hicks, basically. Fine with me. It's Anthony Rizzo fueling the comeback 3 times. The home run in the first inning of opening day, the home run in the 4th inning of the second game, to basically the same spot, and the 2-run single after nobody could cash anybody in yesterday's proceedings to tie the game at 3. With Kike Hernandez on the mic, by the way. Keep him on the mic forever That would be very helpful, because all he did was rattle off complaints, whine about how it was cold and how, his bullpen, if they gave up a hit, he was going to throw the guy out at the plate. And spoiler alert, you didn't. You can throw out Jose Trevino. So best of luck to you moving forward. Wear the mic next week from your couch. We'd love to hear from you again. Your mid-game thoughts. So insightful. Kike Hernandez has officially reached the scale of whether he says anything interesting or not, people are just going to quote tweet it with like, Kike on the mic was everything. No, it wasn't. He wasn't interesting at all yesterday. Completely boring. You guys were just ready to retweet that no matter what he said. He absolutely said nothing of note. Oh, hilarious. He said, do you guys think I'm going to go 0 for the season? That's so funny. No one else could have done that. Kike, the best. He hit 250 last year. But it's Rizzo 3 times. And the uncredited save of Ron Marinaccio, first and second, no outs, ball 1 to Bobby Dalbec. 2-0 game. This game could get away in a matter of minutes. The Yankees are, you talk about punt lineups, but putting a rookie into a 4th inning situation in game 2 of the season where, there's no margin for error. It's like when they put Clark Schmidt in with 2nd and 3rd, 1 out or whatever. It's like, best of luck, kid.
Yeah.
Either he sinks or swims. And I guess game 2 isn't the worst time to be doing that. But from Aaron Boone, it's a huge signal of like, if it just goes wildly off the rails and it's 7-0 by the Red Sox at the end of the inning, he's just like, well, wanted to get the kid in. It's like, okay, well, did that help anybody? And he looks like he's going to absolutely lose it. Rizzo comes in and talks to him, gets Dalbec swinging over a change. Next out is a great play up the middle by Glaber. Glaber second base. Great play. So far through 3 games, not mad at Glaber. Opposite field double off the wall. Game tying sack fly in the first game. Not mad at Glaber.
Yeah.
And then he gets Christian Vasquez looking at a perfect slider. Marinaccio showing off 3 pitches. As soon as Rizzo's done with him, he ticks the corner with the 2-seamer. Gets that curve, that slider slurve guy in there, and gets Dalbec swinging over the top of a changeup. So we can pivot that to Marinaccio discussion because it's all look, 13-30 in, all positives. You're not going to win this week with me. Just like last week after the Final Four. If you were going to do like, Carolina, biggest choke ever, it's like, you're not going to win with me today. They beat Duke twice. Would it have been nice for them to win the final? Yes, I would have enjoyed a championship. But there's like one healthy dude on the roster, and they almost beat every team in America except for one. So you're not going to win with me. You're not going to win with me this time either if you're coming in all cocky, if you're a Boston fan, being like, we got one. Jake Diekman, closer to the future. It's like, yeah, I would have liked to have swept, but I am not leaving this one upset. I'm enthusiastic about almost everybody I saw. And is Ron Marinaccio now, after 105 strikeouts and like 60-something innings last year, we've heard so many times that such and such is the bullpen arm of the future. Other teams, it feels like, call bullpen arms up all the time. They immediately look exactly the same way they did at Double and Triple A. The Yankees do it, and they just look scared. They look skittish. Steven Ridings last year, the rare exception. Marinaccio, again, so far, all it took was one batter and an Anthony Rizzo pep talk, and now he looks exactly as advertised. How quickly do you count on him for big, important outs in this Yankee bullpen? And I guess, does the fact that the bullpen is so deep change that calculus at all? Because there really are a lot of guys out there I trust. There's almost no one I don't trust.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, once again, I'd be buying stock right now for him to be a future piece to the bullpen. I think he's going to be an asset for us to do a combination of things. It's going to be a combination of eating innings, and it's going to be a combination of coming in during higher leverage situations earlier in the game. When a start doesn't go as planned, or if there's an injury or whatever it may be, there are too many guys in the back end of this bullpen for Marinaccio to actually steal legitimate high leverage reps, probably between innings 6 through 9, unless the bullpen is exhausted or overworked. People forget about Lucas Licky, man. Still can do it. He was somehow rumored to be traded this offseason when he's making no money. He's under team control. Like, why would the Yankees ever do that? That's
Devers. Yeah, Devers that bad. I mean, holy Christ.
Yeah.
He made Devers look like Aaron Hicks.
Yeah. And like you said, that's the move that the Yankees would make. They would steal that kind of pitcher from somebody else who either wasn't utilizing him properly or just didn't have the capacity for that type of role on their team because they're not contending or they needed help elsewhere. You got Miguel Castro, who came in twice and looked pretty good. Chapman has been looking great. Chad Green was nasty in his 2 appearances. Loaizaga, same old nastiness. Wandy's pretty damn good, dude. Another great trade from Brian Cashman. Unfortunately, the trades that I wish he would just make. I feel like the trades that he makes are always great for, inserting these little building blocks, but it's never just like, can we get a big, nice one where we don't have to worry? We don't have to do a Donaldson creative deal. Can we do something else? Can we get another acquisition? I don't know. He's good at making the trades around the edges and stealing undiscovered or unexpected talent elsewhere. And look, you got Clark Schmidt last night. Pretty good outing. Gives up that home run to Dalbec.
Another one.
What are you going to do? I mean, so there's way too many people in this bullpen for Marinaccio to actually, I think, become a prominent figure. But hey, all it's going to take is an injury. All it's going to take is an IL stint. All it's going to take is maybe a trade or people being overworked. Last year, people being overworked was a big problem. And then the Yankees, who they had Brooks Kriske for a while, did not work out. Those are not the innings. You would have liked if Brooks Kriske looked like Ron Marinaccio last year.
I would have enjoyed that. Yeah.
Or even or even a half of Ron Marinaccio last year. So I think he's going to have this role where he is doing things. I mean, assuming this goes well, it's one outing, one inning, looked good. It was high pressure though, so you got to give it to the guy.
Which half of Brooks Kriske though? Like the arm, 2 arms, or like the wrong arm? I don't know. It's worth thinking
probably
about.
Just the lower body.
Yeah, Brooks's torso and one leg.
So yeah, I mean, I like Ron's future. I'm not buying any stock on immediate impact for overtaking a role right now, but he's going to be valuable coming in and out as the year goes on.
We're going to learn a lot about these guys very quickly because if it wasn't evident already entering the season, nobody's stretched out, and that's okay. I understand why, but Garrett Cole going 65 pitches, could he have pushed it, maybe another 10, but you're basically at that limit. Severino hasn't pitched in 2, 3, 7 years. Like, he's not getting much further than that. Jordan Montgomery, obviously a little bit exacerbated by getting drilled in the leg by a line drive on the baseball diamond, but he's topping out at 4 innings. Maybe you could have gotten 5 with a super efficient outing, but not really. So I'm surprised we haven't seen JP Sears yet. We've seen everybody but we saw Schmidt yesterday. He was very good. For the first time in his big league career, he was very good, and he got tagged with a loss. So that's a bummer. Aaron Hicks' fault. Aaron Hicks is so far so not great. And so that takes us to the bummers, the 2 bummers. Nobody is rooting against Aaron Hicks and Joey Gallo. Right? No. And if you are, then you're not a Yankee fan because these are the guys on the roster. You can talk about how you'd rather they upgraded elsewhere. You can talk about whatever you want. These guys are on the roster. So if you're rooting against Joey Gallo and Aaron Hicks, just so you can go, see, I told you, I know more. I am very smart. Like, great. This isn't for you. You're not in the industry. You're just a guy talking. And that's great. If that's what you need to feel fulfilled, yeah, man, I hope our team fails. Like, if that's what you need to feel fulfilled, that's great. Aaron Hicks so far, the optics of Sunday night were brutal. Again, turned a 3-0 count clear, and patience is his thing. He turned it into a pop out to basically ruin an inning. And then the only thing you can't do with the bases loaded and 1 out and speed at your disposal is a double play, and he grounded into a double play. Lined a single earlier in the game. That would have been helpful with the bases loaded and 1 out. That would have been helpful in any other situation. He's got 2 hits and a walk, I believe, so far this year. Again, could be worse. And he didn't play on, he didn't start on Saturday. The issue here is that he's just so obviously the odd man out at this point.
Yeah.
But I don't think he will be as much as he should be. The big man outfield should play 5 days a week. It won't. And then Glaber and IKF and Donaldson and DJ LeMahieu should also all play. I'd like to see Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at third. I don't think that's possible because I don't want to see Glaber Torres at short, but it would be interesting. Again, I won't see it. Maybe Marwin Gonzalez at short and Kiner-Falefa at third. Just spitballing here. But the Yankees' best lineup for now, not forever, does not include Aaron Hicks, and yet we've gotten him 2 out of 3 games in a row, and the optics of Sunday night were terrible. Joey Gallo, there was a great River Avenue Blues tweet today that was basically like, Joey Gallo's 1 for 10 this season, and he's been really unlucky. But the best version of Joey Gallo would be 2 for 10 this season because that's how he operates. He hits 200. He hits 220.
Mm-hmm.
He goes on heaters. Sure, there's a chance that there will be a 10 at-bat sequence this year where he goes 5 for 10 with 2 bombs. I would say it's likely. But enough is enough with the whole Joey Gallo is getting unlucky thing. He has the second highest unluck factor in baseball behind Matt Vierling. But like, Matt Vierling sucks. So, these stats only go so far in painting the picture for me. I understand Joey Gallo hits the ball hard, but if a player is unlucky for their entire career and they underperform expected metrics because they hit hard outs, then they're not unlucky. They just hit a lot of hard outs, and people have learned how to shift for them. Joey Gallo strikes out a ton so far this season. I mean, the one rocket he hit yesterday with 2 men on, I couldn't believe wasn't a home run. It like broke my brain. It died like 30 feet before the warning track. And it's like the only ball at that velocity and that angle to not be a hit, which again, I still don't know how that happened. But there's a video circulating of the 5 hard hit balls he's hit already this year. One of them was a rip off the wall, and the other 4 were outs. That line drive notwithstanding, one of them is a pop out where he just rips at the ball and gets under it and hits it 103 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's not exit velocity.
Yeah, which does absolutely nothing for me and tells me more about his failings as a player than the fact that he is unlucky, because that was a cement mixer slider of some kind that he could have tattooed and instead got way, 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 way under because he's somewhat of a, launch angle king, and looped it directly to a fielder, and the miles an hour and the velo did absolutely nothing. So Joey Gallo is going to frustrate a lot of people, even when he's at his best. But that's why when he's at his worst, I really don't need to hear the explanation on the exit velocities. At this point, I know that more exit velocity is likely to breed more success, but I also know what Joey Gallo at his peak looks like. And it's a ball player that's going to make a lot of people very angry. He will go on heaters. He will get better than this. At some point, some of these line drives will find the right spot, but not as many of them as should find the right spot. And that's going to be how it is.
Yeah, I agree. And the two things, he seems to me, he has like Gary Sanchez disease from last year where he's missing these center cut fastballs, / he's not being aggressive early in the count, / then it gets to later in the count and then he's just looking for balls. And I hate when batters do that, when it's like 3-1 or when it's 3-1 and you're just like, I'm not swinging, I'm going to bank that he walks me. And it's very annoying. And then his single in on Saturday, he hit it really hard. It was a great piece of hitting. He ripped it off the wall and he's walking out of the batter's box watching the ball. And then he tries to go to second and gets thrown out by a mile. So it's like, we can't be, you got to either bust it out of the box or you can't go to second. So it's not even about just like, oh, what's his exit velocity? Oh, it's not as good as everybody says it is. Or, oh, what's his launch angle? Or, oh, what's his player profile? Can we dive into this deeper? It's like, tried to make a diving play in left field and missed it really awfully. Like Alex Verdugo made 4 of those plays this weekend. Joey Gallo couldn't make the one that went his way. And I'm not saying that that's his fault. I think it's the Yankees' fault for acquiring a guy who is better in center field and right field than he is in left field. But yeah, I totally agree with you. Joey Gallo is what he is. I don't need anybody trying to explain to me metrics that I don't care about or don't need to read any further into, because it's not going to tell me any story that I don't already know. Joey Gallo either hits a home run, walks, or strikes out. He is the prototypical example of that. And it's even more concerning because he's not able to do that in the best lineup he's ever been in his entire life. There has not been a Texas Rangers team that was close to the production that this Yankees roster can the output that they can put on the field. So that's also where a lot of the frustration lies. Yes, we know who Joey Gallo is. We know his player profile is very similar to kind of a lot of the other players, a lot of the other hitters on this roster. But the fact that I know we're only 3 games in, I'm not indicting Joey Gallo on anything, but the same things that were happening last year are happening in the early going. And if that trend continues, it's going to be another ugly season from Joey Gallo. It's even more concerning that there are lapses on defense. There are lapses in awareness. and there's a lack of success despite being batting after Giancarlo Stanton and before who was hitting 6 last night? Gleyber Torres.
Yeah, he's been
So
doing some LeMahieu splitting
yeah,
too. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
it's just like you're not getting Giancarlo Stanton's arguably the best home run hitter in the game, like on a year-to-year basis since like uh, dating back to when. So you're getting that protection already, and there's still the same things we were seeing last year. And yeah, you're right. Joey Gallo is going to get unlucky just like the rest of baseball. It's already hard enough to hit pitches. It's already hard enough to beat defensive shifts. So the excuse for Joey Gallo getting unlucky doesn't hold any water for me because now everybody else is dealing with the same problems. And it just so happens that Joey Gallo's abilities fall right in line with how teams can defend him. And they're able to better defend him. So bad luck for him if the shift gets banned next year, but he's also not getting hits outside of the shift. So it doesn't even matter. And even if the hits that he's pulling are outs, regardless if there's a shift or not, based on what we've already seen, that over the course of time, yes, of course, he's going to get robbed of hits, but the profile there, it is what it is. And Aaron Hicks is Aaron Hicks, guys. Good for Aaron Hicks on getting paid. This is the Yankees' fault. We can get angry at Aaron Hicks all we want. You can get mad about Aaron Hicks. You could want Brett Gardner to be a Yankee again. The Yankees decided to jump the gun here. Aaron Hicks had injury issues. He had durability issues. He had one really good all-around season in 2018. And then the Yankees decided to invest 7 years in that. And he was in his late 20s. I don't know where the thought process came from with that. I don't know who advised Brian Cashman on that or if this was his doing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is it. We're halfway through the contract, guys. It's through 2025. But also to get mad at Joey Gallo for a slow start is idiotic. To get mad at Aaron Hicks for being out consecutive years to Tommy John surgery, or almost consecutive years because 2020 was 50 games. Tommy John surgery in 2019, and then the wrist sheath surgery last year, which is two things that are well known to affect a player's hitting, and the wrist one specifically a player's power. You're not going to see a turnaround in 3 games. You might not see a turnaround in 30 games.
No.
So I know Aaron Hicks put himself in a bit of a hole saying he's going for 30-30 this year. I can assure you that's not happening. He didn't even come close to beating out that double play, hitting from the left side of the box and it being a weak ground ball to second base. So I commend the man for having confidence in himself because that's what you need as a baseball player. You need to constantly be confident day in and day out, keep the same mentality to, avoid these prolonged slumps and to avoid and to block out the constant criticism that's going to come to you. But Yankees fans, like, if you're saying Aaron Hicks is ruining your life in Game 3 when we're going for a sweep and the Red Sox have their backs against the wall, about to shit their pants, losing the first 3 games of the season at Yankee Stadium, like, come on. I love getting mad at this team more than anybody, but let's wait a fucking month.
This Sunday night was an insufferable place to be on Twitter. I was like trying to sleep through it. I was so mad I couldn't find something else to watch. I love baseball. Baseball is great, but just Sunday night baseball, high probability of a loss just because a letdown is necessary. Like, very likely if the Yankees had won that series, I mean, they did. If the Yankees had swept that series, then great. But I didn't anticipate it and I didn't want to be a part of the cesspool, but I also couldn't pull myself away. So I watched. That was not a devastating loss. It was a frustrating loss. You'd rather win, but we've seen so much terrible baseball in recent years from teams that have eventually gone 92-70 and made the playoffs. So, like, I didn't see a single thing from this weekend where I was like, yup, doomed, bad, dead. Like, and you have to really be stretching the truth to have found that. Now, that being said, anyone who calls DJ LeMahieu a ground ball merchant and doesn't come for Aaron Hicks is extremely misplaced. He's just drilling the ball into the ground right now. And that's partially shaking off the rust. It's partially the wrist, probably. It certainly saps your power. We have been told this, but he's not lifting and separating in the way that he should. The opposite field single was nice, but need more of that. And then I am so done. I love exit velocity. I love advanced stats. Expected batting average is really bumming me out.
Yeah.
If it were
It's just like, okay.
Shifts are so prevalent nowadays that no one's expected batting average equates at all to what they're putting up because people are smart enough to know where to put fielders. So Joey Gallo's, the directionality of where he's hitting the baseball and the velocity with which he's hitting it is all great. But at this point, it doesn't equate anywhere near what his expected batting average would be because it doesn't take into context what's on the field in front of him. So he will never hit that mark, and no one will. And so if you're going to be like, his expected batting average was 312, but his real one was 262. It's like, no hitting coach is going to unlock that. No hitting coach is going to teach you to hit it 5 miles an hour harder and through someone's glove. No hitting coach is going to teach you like, I made the fielder go away. So now you have all this space to work with. Like, I'm sick of that. It tells you only so much about a player's story and no more of that. I want to see the Joey Gallo we were promised, which again isn't even that great. Is like 220 with 40 bombs. Let's get close to that instead of citing behind the scenes park factors and XBA and stuff. Let's just see Joey Gallo, the decent to very good to all-star potential player who we were sold. That's it. Until then, he's just another in a long line of guys. I know what Joey Gallo has been. I know what he is right now. That's it. You don't need to tell me he's good. He might have been good. He's been bad since joining the Yankees. A lot of people are terrible with the Yankees. I'm hoping he's not one of them. But you don't need to tell me. You don't need to tell me he was good at some point. I know.
Yeah, I mean, and you have to take into account the differences in expectations and the differences in teams. The Texas Rangers have been bad for a while. The Yankees have a great spotlight, so it's easier. I'm not saying he's incapable of performing under a greater spotlight. I'm saying the change is certainly a thing. Also, historically, Joey Gallo is not good with hitting with runners in scoring position or delivering in high leverage situations. You could look at the splits; they all exist. I know batting average isn't a thing for everybody, but if you're hitting 182 with runners in runners in scoring position and 2 outs, that's not good. He's hitting 200 with runners in scoring position for his career. High leverage situations, 173 with a 699 OPS. The on base with runners in scoring position doesn't really matter to me because if you have runners on first, if you have a runner on second and you walk, all that does is just, great, you get another base runner, but it puts a double play in play. Or runners in second and third, you want to put the ball in play there. You don't want to, if there's 1 out or whatever, you don't want to put a threat to get 2 more outs with 1 swing of a bat. You have Joey Gallo at the plate. You're expecting somebody to push runs across, and if theoretically he's your best hitter on the Texas Rangers, that you should probably see more production from him in that regard. And there's really not much of it. A lot of strikeouts. Once again, you can go see it for yourself. It's all right there on Baseball Reference. So it is what it is. That's all we're trying to say. Nothing. There's nothing else that's going to tell us a greater story than we already need to know. Joey Gallo's been in the league for this is his 6th or 7th year. Like there's enough evidence here to know what we have to deal with. And a lot of that production is going to come when, Yankees are up 7-1, 3-run homer to make it 10-1, or it's going to be a lot of that. And then you're going to see the stretches and you saw the high leverage at bat last night, 2 outs, need a run, need a home run. He's a home run specialist, down in 3 pitches or 4 pitches or whatever it was. And it was a very non-competitive at bat. And we already seen that a lot. Rangers fans, come on in the chat. Let us know. I don't know how often you saw that, but we've seen a lot of it over 60 games. And I just don't think that there's going to be some great narrative flip here. It's not going to happen.
Well, let's talk about the guy we got who does the job. Let's end this with Giancarlo Stanton praise. 6 homers in 6 games against the Red Sox dating back to last season. Unfortunately, could not come through with a 7th on Sunday, but it does feel extremely empty and shallow to be like, where's the 7th? It's okay. I don't need the 7th. Stanton changed the game like he did in the season-ending series in Boston last year and in the wild card game when he, if it was in New York, would have had 3 bombs. If Matt Vasgersian ruled the world, he would have had at least 2, and John Sterling. But first game, classic Stanton shot, low liner over the right field wall, only a home run at Yankee Stadium. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Tied the game. Second game, monster shot to take the 4-2 lead in the 6th inning. Ultimately, the difference in the game. Nobody scored ever again after that. And we got the Dennis Eckersley reaction, the all-timer. when Nick Pivetta surrendered the home run. He told Nick Pivetta to throw a slider. He goes, let's try that slider again. He does. He hangs it and hits it 500 feet. And we get a from Eckersley. The sequel to Eckersley's call of the 2018 wildcard game Aaron Judge home run, which was no. Which again, that's what you want from the national broadcasts. A's, Yankees fans, fans of the other 29 teams in Major League Baseball, they're all tuning in to hear a Red Sox broadcaster go, "Oh no, this is hell on earth." Like, okay, it's a neutral broadcast. But Stanton is not only living up to all of the potential. It sounds ridiculous to say that from a former NL MVP. But the 2018 season, he carried the Yankees without Aaron Judge for a while. But 2018 is a black mark in Yankees history because of what the Red Sox did and what the Yankees did in the playoffs. Not fully their fault, but still. 2019, he barely played. 2020, he carried them through the postseason, but that season was 60 games long, and he barely played. 2021, he transformed into the Stanton that we knew he could be, a Red Sox killer, a Red Sox slaughterer, and clutch more often than not. And so far, so good. For the first 3 games of 2022, he's carried over that Red Sox murdering for sure, but he is on a heater yet again and ripped 3 singles on Sunday night, showing that like you're going to throw it in there, he's going to hit it back at you.
It's awesome. I've been waiting for this stretch of play from Giancarlo Stanton for a while, just because I didn't agree with the trade at the beginning, just because I thought we needed more pitching and didn't need to spend, $32 million on a guy who has knee problems and will probably be DHing for a while. But hey, it was good to see him in the field for that one game. And yeah, his career numbers against the Red Sox, like this is all you can ask for. Honestly, like it doesn't matter how much money he's getting paid. If this is, as a Yankee, if this is what you're doing against the Red Sox, it doesn't really matter what you do elsewhere unless you're the worst player on the planet to ever step foot on a baseball diamond. Giancarlo Stanton does a lot more than this production against the Red Sox. 51 games, 12 homers, 33 extra base hits, 37 RBIs, 294 average, 921 OPS. And obviously most of that has come when he was with the Yankees. I think when he was a member of the Marlins, they might have faced the Red Sox a handful of times, if that. NL-AL matchups, they don't happen often. Then you got Aaron Judge, on the other hand, 69 games against the Red Sox, 238 batting average, 16 homers, 35 RBIs, 807 OPS, 25 extra base hits. So Stanton's production blows Aaron Judge's out of the – and Aaron Judge also has 82 strikeouts against the Red Sox in 69 games. Stanton has 60 in 51 games. So in fewer games, Stanton's numbers are way better, and he has more production than Aaron Judge does. So I'm thankful that there is that Stanton's been here to do this type of stuff, because it probably is agonizing for Red Sox fans whenever he comes to the plate at this point, because it's like when, the random replacement player on Boston comes to the plate for us and we're like, great, this guy's going to fucking hit an RBI double, isn't he? He's batting 170 on the year. And that's an annoying enough feeling, but I don't know. It's got to be really annoying to have someone like Giancarlo Stanton, who is capable of hitting the ball 1,000,000 miles an hour and hitting it 500 feet, to come up to the plate, breaks the all-time record for most consecutive home runs against the Red Sox, including the postseason, past Mickey Mantle's record of 5 over the weekend. So I'm glad that he is terrorizing Red Sox fans, because Red Sox fans were the ones who love to make fun of that trade, love to make fun of his contract, because they care about money. The Red Sox fans love to look at what players are making on an annual basis and grill you for it, because apparently that matters. So yeah, Giancarlo Stanton making $30 million a year and whooping your ass. And yeah, I'll pay $30 million a year for Giancarlo Stanton to exclusively whoop the Red Sox's ass every single year.
Yeah, I will also do that. I'll chip in some of my own money. I don't care who's paying him. The Stanton deal's not as bad as most think it is.
No, now it's normalizing.
Now it's fine. It's definitely not hamstringing the Yankees again. We've said it a million times. If it is, they're lying to you. They can let it hamstring them if they want, but they're lying to you. The Judge numbers, very interesting.
Not great.
That's all I'll say. The $36 million man had some fouled off some meatball pitches yesterday, but ultimately struck out against Jake Diekman. And it's looked like that more often than not in the clutch against the Red Sox. I love Aaron Judge. I'd pay him, but patience is wearing a little bit thin, especially, based on the way this weekend started.
It's the narrative, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to end this on a sour note, though. Stanton is a monster. The Yankees won 2 of these games, and a real test comes this week against the Toronto Blue Jays. Big 4-game set. After that, the schedule gets a lot easier, although, again, we are Yankee fans. We know that that's not always the actual case, but the Orioles are on there. The Royals are on there. The Guardians are on there. It's not the Red Sox until July. July.
I don't get
And
it.
there's not even like a murderer's row stretch in there. There's a 7 games in 10 or 11 days against the Sox in the middle of July, but I don't know. I liked what I saw from the Yankees. I'm not scared of that at this point. There's only one 4-game set in Boston, and it's not at the end of the year. It's in the middle of the year. It is what it is. Nothing terribly determinative or, end of season stretch run, change your life. Starting on the right foot. Let's continue. That is it for this Monday edition of the Yanks Go Yard podcast. Make sure to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Drop us a 5-star review along with a mailbag queue. We would be more than happy to answer. Until next time, I'm Adam Weiner. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weiner. Thomas Carinante. Where can the people find you?
At Tommy's_takes. You can also find us at yanksgoyard.com. More and more content up there. We got some overreactions going up tonight. I think that's going to be a fun one. We got some Gary updates for you. Some couple big highlights from Gary over the weekend. Head on over to the Yanks Go Yard official Twitter account as well, at Yanks Go Yard FS. We'll be active on there. Season started. We are ready to go. And until then, folks, we'll talk to you on Thursday. Hopefully we got a couple wins under our belt against Toronto. Their pitching has sucked. Their pitching has objectively sucked so far. And that's pretty much the best thing we can ask for, because if you'd rather get into a slugfest with the Blue Jays than a pitcher's duel, because they're going to beat you in a pitcher's duel with the deep lineup that they have. I'd rather slug it out with them, and have their pitching be weak. So hopefully that's the narrative, but we'll be back on on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, live right here.
We'll see you then. Take care, everybody.